Welcome back to In Response EDH. I'm your host Albert, and today we have a really fun and salty game for you. First we have ᴨ returning, and he's brought with him Mogis, God of Slaughter. This is a group slug deck that punishes each of his opponents for trying to play the game. He starts the game with a Thematic Compass, Vandal Blast, Tormented Hailfire, Bloodstained Mire, Sulphurous Springs, Foreboding Ruins, and a Swamp. Next we have our friend Chris, and he's brought a commander you may never encounter in the wild, Chandler. This deck is still a mystery to me, but from what I've seen, it likes to turn your permanents into artifacts and either steal them or destroy them. He keeps an opening hand with Audacious Reshapers, Madcap Experiment, Aladdin, ᴍᴜᴄ Heretic, and 3 Mountains. Alec is also back and looking to get another win on the channel. This time he's brought his mono blue deck led by Jace Vryn's Prodigy. The theme of this deck is to draw out your entire library and win through Labman or Thassa's Oracle, or win by storming off. He decides to start the game with a Sapphire Medallion, Brain Freeze, Patron Wizard, Trinket Mage, and 3 snow-covered islands. And last but not least, we have one of our generous patrons, Sam, back, and he's brought his Carth the Lion Super Friends deck. He just wants to flood the board with every planeswalker he can fit into this Golgari deck, and outvalue everyone at the table. He keeps an opening hand consisting of Evolution Sage, Doubling Season, Sword of Hearth and Home, Arcane Signet, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, a Bayou, and a Woodland Chasm. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you, if you enjoy the content and would like to support the channel, consider becoming a patron. When you do, you're not only contributing to the channel's growth, you're also being entered in our monthly patron giveaways, as well as receiving other patron-only perks and merch as well. All proceeds of our Patreon will be reinvested into the channel to bring you the best content possible. With that being said, and the introductions out of the way, let's start the game. Chris starts us off by playing a mountain and passing. ᴨ plays a tapped Foreboding Ruins and passes. Sam drops down a tapped Woodland Chasm and passes. Alec follows suit and plays a snow-covered island and passes. Chris stays the course, dropping another mountain, and ends his turn. ᴨ plays a Sulphurous Springs and casts a Thematic Compass.
Oh, now I draw it?
Sam plays a snow-covered forest, taps it, and casts a Soul Ring. He then taps a Soul Ring for an Arcane Signet and ends his turn. Alec draws and plays another snow-covered island. He then taps out to cast his commander, Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Chris draws for turn, plays another mountain, and taps out to cast ᴍᴜᴄ Heretic.
Oh no, my rocks!
ᴨ plays a swamp as his land for turn. He decides to tap out and activate his Thematic Compass to grab a basic mountain to his hand and passes to Sam. Sam plays a Bayou as his land for turn.
Quick and fear.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he can destroy this. Maybe he can, actually.
After that, he follows it up by casting a Doubling Season.
Doubling season. Well, okay. Just
guy.
casually double the season.
Doesn't even say anything about it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Alec starts his turn and plays another snow-covered island. He then taps 3 mana to cast a Patron Wizard.
Damn, that sucks.
Gonna pass my turn.
I turned late.
I do appreciate you giving me 3 mana every turn, though. That's not.
Yo.
I mean, he's got to play his deck, right?
Chris then starts his turn, playing a Dwarven Mine, and goes looking for his 1/1 Dwarf token. In the meanwhile, he pays to activate the Heretic.
I'm gonna crack that Soul Ring.
Not the Thematic Compass? It's so thematic. Alright.
That's it.
I don't know what to tell you.
Looking for a dwarf?
Yeah.
How about we
Well,
use Dane's Veto?
Oh,
Oh yeah, there you go.
Wait, why did he get a Dandy Veto?
Because he played a land that says he gets one.
Yeah.
After that, he ships the turn to ᴨ. ᴨ draws for turn, plays a mountain, and taps out to cast his commander, Mogis, God of Slaughter. But Sam has some advice for Alec.
Okay, counter it, counter it.
You're okay. This is gonna hit him more than it's gonna hurt you.
I really love Sam.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Go.
Now you're never gonna get rid of it.
Sam starts his turn, and Sean has to remind him of the Mogis trigger. Sam doesn't have any creatures to sacrifice and loses 2 life. Alec then reminds him he didn't take the 1 from Chris blowing up the Soul Ring. Sam then uses the floating mana from choosing Alec with the Carpet of Flowers.
You wanna counter that one?
Yeah, would you like to counter it?
No, it's
He's gonna ult it. Just fucking do it.
I have the mana for
I
it.
can't counter it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Ult.
I'm gonna ult it.
So
And
predictable.
Then play a land.
And then draw. Oh,
And then draw.
Then
That's all I can do. Go ahead.
Oh
It
no.
wasn't that bad.
On Sam's end step, Alec loots with Jace.
I think you guys are overreacting. I really think you guys are overreacting.
I don't know. Putting a land down and drawing a card is pretty damn good.
You know how I feel about playing lands.
Don't play him.
This
Yeah.
actually hurts me. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm betraying my own principles here.
Untap. Draw for my
You want to
turn.
play another island?
Yes, I do.
Ah, there we go.
Alec casts a Sapphire Medallion. Sean reminds him of the Mogis trigger, and Alec takes 2. He then follows that up by casting a Trinket Mage. He chooses to search up a Soul Ring, and then goes into combat, swinging his Patron Wizard at Nissa, dropping her down to 2 loyalty. After that, he ends his turn. Chris decides to take the 2 from Mogis rather than sacrificing his Danny DeVito. He continues hitting his land drops, and then taps 4 of them to cast a Madcap Experiment.
Oh.
Ooh.
He then reveals cards off the top of his deck until he hits an artifact. But he doesn't go too deep into his library before hitting a Mycosynth Wellspring. When it enters, he searches up a basic and puts it into his hand, and then takes 1 from the Madcap Experiment. After that, he moves to combat and swings both of his creatures at Nissa, sending her to the graveyard.
Forget Chandler. This is a Danny DeVito deck.
Sean starts his turn by playing a Polluted Delta as his land drop. He decides to cast Cut to deal 4 damage to the Patron Wizard.
Patron Wizard?
Yeah.
Are you gonna pay 1? Why are you cutting the Patron Wizard? Are you gonna cast some like crazy spell or what?
Sam remembers the Mogis trigger this time and loses 2 life. He plays a Tainted Field and draws a card from the Nissa emblem. He names Alec with the Carpet of Flowers, and then taps 1 black mana and the mana from the carpet to cast his commander, Carth the Lion. He then looks at the top 7 cards of his deck and finds a Freyalise, Llanowar's Fury.
Or blow up his Wellspring. That'll show.
Yeah, that's not that great.
Sam chooses to cast the Freyalise, which now comes in with 6 loyalty. He ticks her up and creates 2 1/1 elves because of the doubling season. On his end step, Alec again loots with Jace and discards an island.
Don't discard islands, play them.
Alec then starts his turn and draws a card. He decides to activate Jace on his main phase this time and loots again. Sean again has to remind him of the Mogis trigger, and Alec chooses to lose 2 life. Alec casts a Soul Ring, then taps a Soul Ring to cast a Sky Diamond, which enters tap. After that, he moves to combat and swings at Sean for 2 damage with the Trinket Mage. Chris starts his turn, drawing a card and electing to take 2 damage from Mogis. He then taps 3 to cast Audacious Reshapers, which is just a Madcap Experiment on a body. He then decides to blow up Alec's Sapphire Medallion with ᴍᴏᴏ Heretic and deals 2 damage to Alec. After that, he moves to combat and swings his Danny DeVito token at Sean for 1.
I remember dying to a Danny DeVito that had like all this equipment on it. Yeah, it was Sean's.
Sean spends his turn casting an Exquisite Blood and then ends his turn. Sam decides to sacrifice one of his elves to Mogis this time, rather than taking the 2 damage. He then casts a Windgrace's Judgment on his main phase, targeting Sean's Exquisite Blood, Chris's ᴍᴏᴏ Heretic, and Alec's Soul Ring.
Oh, it's for each player you get.
And
Word.
that.
And Soul Ring. Wow.
I still have 1 floating. Hey, I'm allowed to make bad plays, Chris, okay?
Sam follows that up by tapping out, using his elves for mana, to cast Karn Liberated.
Oh, GG.
What would be... I'm just wondering what would be nice to start a game with.
He then uses Karn's first ability,
Dismantle.
Wait.
Don't spend it all in one place.
Damn.
he then uses ᴅɪ괜ᴏᴜ to create 2 more elves, and passes. Alec draws for turn, and takes another 2 damage from Mogis. He then taps 3 to cast a Mirage Mirror. After that, he just moves to combat and swings at Sean again for 2 more. Chris starts off his turn, again taking 2 more damage from Mogis. He then plays a Cryptic Caves as his land for turn, followed by activating his Audacious Reshapers, sacking the Wellspring. When he does, he searches up another land to his hand, and then resolves the Reshaper's ability. He finds a Pariah Shield 5 cards deep and is dealt 5 damage in the process.
But then everybody gets to know.
Why is it a Platinum Empyrean? I would love to start a game with a Platinum Empyrean. Like,
Why would you even? Why are you even worried about it? You just keep plussing and you just keep making tokens and then you just win. There's no point in to restart the game. Like,
because it's a dream of mine, man. It's like my bucket list.
Like always, I gotta do all the work.
Save us, Chris.
After that, Chris pays 4 mana to cast Aladdin.
You think that's a good card to start the game with?
sure.
Is that a good card to start the game with?
Yes, it would be.
Yes, pay 1 double red. Yeah.
Non-aura permanence. This is just regular exiled. I don't even get it if you restart the game. God
You did
damn
it,
it.
Chris. You did.
He was so happy to have it, and then he used it.
Sean starts his turn drawing a card, and playing a Bloodstained Mire as his land drop.
Do you have good cards in your hand? Who has good cards in their hand that are willing to exile? That are permanents.
I don't
Non-aura permanents, by the way. I had no idea Karn was so specific.
To be pretty
I
useless.
had no idea he was that specific.
Or
Still chimes.
Oh yeah.
He then moves to his end step, and since he controls 7 lands now, the compass will flip and become Spire of Araska. Sam untaps and draws for turn. Sean again reminds him of the Mogis trigger, and Sam decides to sack another elf. He then uses some of the mana from the Carpet of Flowers to cast Liliana of the Dark Realms. Sam decides to ultimate her, and now all his swamps produce 4 black mana.
Just swing at me. I don't give a fuck.
I still have 1 floating. Okay, fine. I will swing at you, okay?
Yeah.
He follows that up by casting Sword of Hearth and Home.
Oh wait, these tap for a lot now, don't they?
tap 4 black, sir.
He then uses his floating mana to equip his commander. After that, he moves to combat and swings his commander at Sean.
This blinks things, right?
I don't know. It's your card.
Initially, he decides to take the damage, but instead,
I think I'll do something
Oh, it's
before I take the damage.
Should you have flip
Okay.
last
I'll terminate.
Oh, yeah.
It's not only that, but I also have this spires. So just.
on his second main phase, Sam uses his elves to recast his commander. When Carth enters the battlefield, again, Sam gets a look at the top 7 cards of his library, and this time reveals a Nissa Worldwaker, which goes into his hand. After that, he uses Karn's minus ability to exile Sean's Sulphurous Springs. He then uses ᴅɪ괜ᴜᴜ's minus 6 ability to draw 3 cards. After that, he uses some of the remaining black mana in his mana pool to re-equip Carth with the sword. On his end step, Alec once again activates Jace, and now has enough in his graveyard to flip him into Jace Telepath Unbound. Alec then starts his turn and loses 2 more life to the Mogis trigger. He then casts an extra planar lens, imprinting a snow-covered island. He follows that up by having his Mirage Mirror become a copy of the Sword of Hearth and Home. He equips it to his Trinket Mage but forgets to pay the equip cost. He moves to combat and swings at Sam, who cannot block because it has pro green. And Sam takes 4 damage. Alec blinks the Trinket Mage with the sword's ability and grabs another snow island, as well as an elixir of immortality with the Trinket Mage. The land goes straight onto the field.
Wait, did you just exile an island?
Yes.
I need your islands, man.
Well, I
It's
found
okay, he
another
got
one.
another one.
And then he casts a Frantic Search, drawing 2 cards and discarding 2. He also gets to untap 3 lands, and decides to cast ᴍᴜᴇᴜ, giving him no maximum hand size. He taps 2 snow lands to produce 4 mana in order to draw a card with the creature. Alec then uses Jace's minus ability to recast the Frantic Search from the graveyard, drawing another 2 cards and discarding another 2 cards. He discards a Reset and a Venser, and then untaps 3 lands. He then activates a ᴍᴜᴇᴜ and draws another card. Alec finds a land and plays it as his land for turn.
No, I probably will not be restarting the game, unfortunately.
Chris, do you remember how this deck wins?
Turn 8 starts with Chris forgetting the Mogis trigger and drops another mountain on the field. He then pays the cost to activate Aladdin's ability to steal Sam's sword.
Really, Chris?
He then sacrifices it to the audacious Reshapers.
Aladdin gains control of the
Oh,
land.
you're gaining control of
And
it.
then I sack
Don't you want to equip it and smack someone with it first?
No.
The Danny DeVito?
As a matter of fact, I do not. I would like to keep my mana up.
Thank you.
Soul
Chris.
Ring.
Oh, nice. And you take a damage.
That's really not
That's
trash.
literally balls to Citadel, bro.
Yeah.
I know.
Audacious Citadel.
After that, Chris casts a mere Battle Sphere. Sean just draws a card, decides not to cast anything, and passes to Sam. Sam draws for turn, and starts by upticking Liliana to search his library for a swamp.
Like, everything I do is gonna hurt Chris, so I'm not gonna do it.
Wow. When do I ever get that courtesy?
What do you mean? Is it just destroy creatures?
Yeah?
Whatever.
I have creatures.
And your artifacts.
And my artifacts? Oh, jeez, Rick.
He then casts an Evolution Sage, and then drops a snow-covered forest on the field, triggering the Sage, and he proliferates on all his Planeswalkers, again forgetting to draw a card. He then chooses to downtick Karn to exile Alec's extraplanar lands. In response, he taps his 2 lands to draw a card with his ᴍᴜᴇᴜ, while they still tap for 2 mana each. Sam then casts Garruk, Cursed Huntsman. He immediately ults him and gets an emblem, giving all his creatures +3/+3 in trample. He follows that up by casting Sorin Markov. Sam uses his last ability to make Sean's life total 10. He then uses Freyalise's last ability to draw 4 cards since he controls 4 creatures. Sam decides to move to combat and swings Carth and 1 elf at Sean.
Carth and 1 elf. So I have 1 elf. Sure.
I feel like you saw that coming.
I forgot what that did.
Sean then takes 4 damage and goes to 6. Alec starts his turn, drawing a card and choosing to take 2 damage from Mogis. He then plays Reliquary Tower as his land for turn. After that, he activates his ᴍᴜᴇᴜ again to draw another card. Alec then upticks Jace, targeting Carth and giving him -2/-0 until his next turn. Chris starts turn 9 by taking 2 damage from the Mogis trigger.
He has a Planeswalker too, guys. Just in case you guys forgot that.
He then decides to cash in his Cryptic Caves to draw a card. After that, he uses his Reshaper's ability, sacrificing a mirror, and he hits a Burnished Heart right off the top of his library, losing 1 life. Chris follows that up by casting Kurkesh, Onaki Ancient. He then pays 3 to sacrifice the Burnished Heart with its ability and pays an additional 1 red mana to copy with Kurkesh, to search up 4 basics to the battlefield tapped. Sean draws for turn. He then casts an Exsanguinate, where X equals 5, draining each player for 5 life and gaining him 15.
And I gain 15.
Yep.
I've never had to sword someone twice in a game.
Sam starts his turn, finally remembering the Mogis trigger on his own.
You got me. You
about
got me.
Get it, boys.
How crazy would it be, huh? To get Soren twice and still not die?
He starts his turn by using Garrick's ult ability again and getting another emblem.
I'm gonna exile that.
Can't read.
You don't even need to. You have enough damage on the board. Exile
He
something
wants
else.
it gone.
I just want it gone. You literally have lethal on board and you're worried about it? I want you gone.
Sam drops a Slitherborn pathway on the field and taps some mana, but then remembers his proliferate triggers off the evolution sage.
I'll probably ult Liliana again. At this point,
Oh yeah,
you
dude.
should activate your planeswalkers now. I have sub 1 floating Nissa. I'm just gonna ult it. Oh, they're just creatures. Alright, well.
They don't have indestructible or anything?
No. You
Okay.
just blow up the board.
Alright, sounds good.
Minus lands.
He grabs a total of 9 lands and puts them onto the field, this time remembering to draw cards for each of them. Sean takes his time to explain the card to Sam.
They come to play tapped?
No.
No, they're real.
But
they're
that's
creatures.
not what they say.
They're creatures. You cannot tap them for
Or-
mana.
You can't activate them.
Yeah,
or
I
attack
can't.
with them.
Yeah,
No.
that's a bad Nissa. The other one, that Nissa sucks. The other Nissa is way better.
Then-
That Nissa sucks. So I can't use these lands at all.
No, you can't. They're creatures. They're summoning sick.
6 + 6 + 6.
And how many counters did you proliferate? Oh, 0. Okay.
Sam forgets to proliferate and just casts a Sword of Truth and Justice and equips it to Carth.
What are you at?
23. You can see it right here.
23, 19, 21.
I'm at 5,000 life. I have infinite life. I've comboed off already. The game's over.
Aren't you at 10?
Why? Am I?
Yeah.
You taught
I'm
me.
pretty sure you're at 10, aren't
I
you?
bet you need my island.
Huh? I'm
He
not gonna
doesn't
kill
need
you
it.
now. I'm gonna leave you hanging.
Yeah. Or 6 + 3, right? Yeah, 11.
Carth at you,
Okay.
Elf at you,
Okay.
and an Elf at you.
Okay.
There's 7 sevens with trample.
I think I'll cast this 8 twice.
What does that do?
Returns all attacking creatures to understand.
Cool. 21.
You should ult your
Yeah.
Liliana.
I haven't used her yet, so I'll use her.
Should have drawn more cards so you can get your fucking.
Oh, it only
chain
goes
done.
up by 2 now.
Oh.
Didn't he tell you to use your...
I told you.
He did.
Jesus.
He definitely did.
Yeah.
I did. I used almost all of them.
You didn't use the
He
Liliana?
didn't
Yeah.
use any of them.
Yeah.
Why would I need another swamp? I literally have no swamps in
Use
the.
your planeswalkers.
No, down tick her.
Ultimate
Ult her
one
again.
that doesn't work.
Just ult your Liliana again.
After that blowout, Sam decides to recast his commander and looks at the top 7 cards to look for another walker. This time he finds a Vraska Relic Seeker and puts it into his hand. Next, he casts a Lightning Greaves and chooses to equip him to Carth.
I'll ultimate it again.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Are you fast after that?
So all of my swamps are making 8 now.
I don't know if that's how it works. It's just 4.
No, they gain the ability to
Yeah.
track.
Oh.
Yeah. No, you already did it.
You already ulted it.
You already did it. You don't understand how the card works. That's what we kept saying. Do it again. Do it again. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna do it again. 8 mana. I'm like, no, that's not how it works, sir.
I hate you guys.
Like, read the card.
I hate you guys. I just want you to know that.
Plus, you're not reading chat. Chat's like, the guy doesn't get it.
I don't get it.
Sam finally ends his turn and discards down to 7.
All right, Alec, this is your time to shine.
This is where Alec.
Deck out and win.
Alec starts by sacrificing his Jace to flash back his Frantic Search. But it should have been exiled since he flashed it back earlier in the game with Jace.
Would it really be that bad if I just killed you and we move on to the next game?
Either you board wipe or I board wipe. So.
Well, I want you to board wipe as well.
With that said, Alex casts the Devastation Tide, returning all non-land permanents to their owner's hand. In response, he activates the Mirage Mare to become a copy of one of his islands so that he doesn't lose it.
Apparently my swamps do not generate 8 mana,
No,
so it's not as good as I thought.
He then recasts his Sky Diamond and passes. Chris draws a card for turn, then he casts an Armillary Sphere, and immediately sacks it to search up 2 basic lands to his hand. He plays one of them as his land drop this turn, while Sam and Sean discuss his next turn.
No, Mogis got bounced to your hand. You can cast it. It only costs 5, right?
I want to wipe the board. I want to protect
But, oh my
myself.
cards.
I know.
I have.
You made the mistake of ulting that stupid Nissa. You should have just said plus.
I just wanted to draw 9 cards. That's all.
Fair.
Oh, I missed all those proliferations. I forgot.
I
when the
told
land
you.
goes
Oh
up.
my.
I pointed it out.
Yeah,
He's like, oh, I already
I
did.
said it.
Yeah.
He's like, I already did.
No, I thought it was.
Whatever. I forgot.
I forgot. No, it doesn't matter. He bounced everything up. It's fine.
Fist.
Chris then recasts his Soul Ring, then follows that up by casting an Unwinding Clock, followed by Pariah's Shield, and finally the Audacious Reshapers. Sean untaps and draws. He then taps 4 mana to try and wipe the board.
We're gonna damnation. Yeah. Oh shit. That's bad. Hold on.
That's
Counter?
bad, man. That's crazy.
He's gonna counter it. I have 3 mana. Well, I mean, I kind of have to do it now, right? Deflecting spell? Counter spell?
No.
Give him a bird?
No, I got nothing.
Sam is able to save his army of elemental lands, and Chris loses his Reshapers. Sean follows that up by just casting a Pyrostatic Pillar. And I'll just let Sam take it from here.
Also,
Why don't you just attack?
I just want to make
Stop
sure.
playing cards, guys. Wait, how do you even have that much cards in your hand? Didn't you?
He bounced it.
Oh, that's right.
Vivian,
Vivian?
I'm gonna emblem her.
Okay, sure. So now they're
So everything has
indestructible.
vigilance, trample, and indestructible, and another +2/+2.
Sounds good.
3 of these at you. 3 of these at you.
I live.
No, he's kidding.
I
Just
don't
go.
think you do. And the other 3 at you.
What? No, you don't.
wait. I don't think you do.
You know the irony? I won with land.
Congratulations, Sam, for snagging yet another win on the channel. This was a fun game to sit in on. There was so much heckling going on, we were constantly laughing. But this game came down to Sam having an extremely fast start with the Carpet of Flowers and Doubling Season leading the way. There was just not enough pressure put on him, and it just snowballed out of control from there. It seems Alec just brought the wrong deck to play when someone is playing the Carpet of Flowers so early on in the game. But besides gifting Sam so much mana, he seemed to draw the wrong half of his deck. He wasn't able to draw as many cards as he would have liked, and wasn't able to find any hard counters for everything Sam was doing. Chris also suffered from hitting some very lackluster artifacts with the Madcap Experiment and his Audacious Reshapers. What he's looking to hit is a Microsynth Lattice to turn everything into artifacts, and then cast an Unwinding Clock to be able to use his commander or any of his creatures to just steal or destroy everyone's permanents over and over again. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case this game, but I hope to see the deck pop off in future games. Sean had a pretty slow start, and wasn't able to make a huge impact in the game. Mogis did do quite a bit of damage, since almost every turn, the other players decided to take 2 rather than sack a creature. But getting his Exquisite Blood destroyed right after he played it, and playing a Damnation into Sam's heroic intervention, just pretty much killed any chance of making a comeback. Well, that's it for this episode. I just want to wish everyone a Happy New Year, and thank you for all the support you have given us throughout the year. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you in 2022. Make sure to like the video and leave a comment, and if you aren't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Before we go, we'd like to give a big thank you to our amazing patrons. We are glad to have your support and thankful for each and every one of you. We here at In Response would like to thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure you follow us on our social medias. We also stream every Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you for watching. Have an awesome day.